booktube. My name is Elizabeth. Welcome back to my channel, Bouquets and Books. This is my pile of possibilities, I guess, for the month of March. And it's not for specific readathons because there are so many readathons in March and they are all so interesting. But the wonderful thing about the readathons in March is that they are not about quantity. It's not about hitting prompts. It's not about making points for a team. It's about inviting you to discover a particular type of book. And you read one and you're in. And I think is the greatest way to do readathons. You read one and you're in. So I think that's the only way I will be able to participate in at least 3 readathons. It's because I just need to read one. So, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to talk about the readathons I will prioritize. So that the first 3, the ones that I want to, the ones that I most want to take part in, and I will talk about them in the order they were created. And I will leave timestamps in the description box below. So if you just want to hear about my pile of possibilities for one specific readathon, you can go straight to that. So I'm going to start with March Mystery Madness, which is a venerable event on BookTube. I think it is in its 7th or 8th year. It was created by Lizzie Fay Love Books, and I will leave a link to her announcement in the description box below. And there are a whole bunch of hosts, so I will not leave links to all of them, but from, I'm pretty sure that from Lizzie Fay Loves Books video, you can reach all of the other hosts. And the theme for this year is 2 by 2, and it is for the year 2022, and it is meant to be interpreted in the widest way possible. And one of the ways to interpret it is to read the second book in a series. And this is the second book in a series. This is the Satapur Moonstone by Sujata Massey. It is set in the 1920s in India. And this is the second book in the series. I have not read the first, so I don't know if it means I'm cheating, but I don't care. I can start with the second. I've just heard so many great things about this series. I really want to try it. So this one is very high on my list of possibilities. Another one that is quite high is Agatha Christie, The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. So this is a thin little volume and I can read it quite quickly. I've never read this one. I know how it ends, but I've never read it. And I have other Agatha Christie's that I have read, but for some reason I rarely remember who is the guilty party and I barely remember the plot. If I remember it, it's because of the TV version that I might have seen with probably with David Suchet or something like that. But in the David Suchet playing Hercule Poirot. But for other Agatha Christie's, for Miss Marple's, for example, I never remember who's the guilty party. So I may very well read another one, and that would fit the theme 2 by 2. Another one that fits the theme is Whose Body by Dorothy Sayers. There are 2 words in the title, and that fits. And I've never read anything by Dorothy Sayers, and I think this is the first one with her inspector, whose name I don't know. Lord Peters. So Lord Peters' first appearance. So this is a possibility. And another possibility would be Ex Libris by Ross King. This one is also a historical mystery. It is set in 17th century England after the Civil War. The main character is a antiquarian, a bookshop owner who is called to an English estate that has been ravaged, and he will be tasked with rebuilding the library. I think from the first 50 pages, because as you can see there's a bookmark in it. It's not because I started it yesterday. I started it in January and I was interrupted and put it aside and haven't picked it up since. But from the first 50 pages it's not quite clear yet what the mission will be, but I think that's the mission, is to rebuild the library that was destroyed during the Civil War. And I have plenty of other mysteries in my TBR. I have some Sherlock Holmes, I have some P.D. James, I have a 3 Brother Cat file, yeah, and I have plenty of choice. So I think these ones are the most likely to be read in March, but I could be wrong. I could choose to read something else. And I also have a subscription to Scribd, and there are tons of mysteries in there, tons of series I would like to try. One that I have started and that is entirely on Scribd is Bruno, Chief of Police by Martin Walker. So I might read another one in that series. It is set in the south of France, and it's kind of like traveling to France. It's a location mystery, so it's very much centered on lifestyle in the south of France, which is quite nice too. So these are the possibilities for March Mystery Madness. Now, the next one that I want to participate in, and that I will participate in, is March of the Mammoth. And this one is hosted and organized by three booktubers. It's by Jason from Old Blues Chapters and Verse, by, oh, I should have checked my things, Lucas from A Cruel Reader's Thesis, and Alex from, I forgot the name of her channel. Anyway, I will leave links in the description box so you can watch all of the announcements. And for that one, the rule is quite simple. You have to start reading a book. You don't even have to finish it. A book that is over 800 pages long. Last year in December, I did two videos, one about fiction and one about nonfiction on the longest books in my TBR. So I have selected a few of them, and one of them is new, has been added to my TBR since, and I still don't know as of filming this which one I will read. I have too many possibilities. I am attracted to big books. When I see them in bookstores, I want to read them because they sound like the most fascinating. But once they are on my shelves, they look intimidating, and somehow I don't pick them up. So I don't know exactly which ones I will read. I will decide at the beginning of March. I will see what strikes me, what inspiration tells me to read. So there are a few possibilities in fiction. So it could be either fiction or non-fiction. So I have The First Man in Rome by Colleen McCullough. This is over 1,000 pages long. Okay, if we include the glossary, if we remove the glossary, it is 35 pages. So there's a lot of pages to read, and this is obviously a historical fiction set in ancient Rome, and I know nothing else about this. I would say of all the books, of all the Mammoths, this is probably the least intimidating because it is popular fiction. Now, I don't want to be condescending, but I think popular fiction is made in a way that is more readable than non-fiction or some highbrow or classic fiction. For example, Middlemarch by George Eliot. This one I bought after Christmas, and it is, in this edition, barely above 800 pages. It is 814 pages, but the pages are full and they are quite big. So this is a real mammoth. I think in fact, it's longer than this book. I think in number of words, I'm pretty sure that Middlemarch is longer. So this one, I have no idea what it's about, except that it's one of the greatest books in English literature. I think at some point it made the top of a list. I don't know who made the list, but it's frequently cited as one of the best books in English literature. Other possibilities for fiction would be War and Peace. That would be a reread. So I have... How many editions of War and Peace does one person need? I have 3. So these ones are in French. It's the French translation of War and Peace. Even though it's in 2 volumes, it is a single book. And these ones are 2 different translations. This one is by Anne Donegan, and this one, so that one is Anne Donegan. That is the Signet Classics. And the World's Classic is translated by Louise and Elmer Maud. So these are the possibilities. It would be a reread. I read the French version when I was 18, so that's 25 years ago. And there is a read-along either by Sandy at Miss Reads a Lot, and she plans to read it all in 1 month, or more probable, if I decide to read War and Peace, I will tag along with Anna from Anna's Books and Crypto and Una from Codex Cantina. They will read it over 3 months, and I think that's more a rhythm that would suit me. 3 weeks ago, I would have said, yes, I'm going to reread this. But somehow, at the moment, as of filming this, I'm not that enthused about it. For some reason, I don't know. If I'm going to reread something for March of the Mammoth, it would be The Idiot by Dostoevsky. It doesn't have 800 pages. How can it be shorter? It has 780 pages. Oh, I say it counts. I say it counts. It's an honorary mammoth. See the tiny print. It counts. It's a mammoth. So maybe I could reread that. So that is another possibility. And that is just for the fiction. I am also tempted into reading non-fiction. So I have this, The Seven Pillars of Wisdom by T.E. Lawrence, his famous memoirs about World War I guess, and his role with the Arabs. So this on the cover is Peter O'Toole from the famous movie Lawrence of Arabia, and this is the book the movie is based on. And in this translation, it is 894 pages. In English, it might be shorter. It's something that non-translators don't really know, but a translation tends to be longer than the original, and between some languages, it's even more marked. And from English into French, it's almost guaranteed that the French translation will be at least 10% longer, and sometimes up to 30% longer. So it's very well possible that in English this doesn't count as a mammoth, but in French it is a mammoth. And the other books, two books that are possibilities for March of the Mammoth, is this massive biography of Beethoven. I've had it for now 3 years. I bought it when it was on sale. And because of the last 2 years, because of the pandemic, I haven't been to any classical concert. For some reason, I'm less interested in classical music. So that's why the biography stayed on the shelf for so long, is because I know I'm not going to hear a Beethoven symphony or concerto for a little while. So I am a bit less interested. But now the concert halls are reopening, so I'm interested once again in classical music. So this one is tempting too. And another one that is tempting, not so much because of the subject, but because of the writer. I've heard a lot about Robert K. Massey, and this is Dreadnought. This one sits at 1,000 and something pages if we include the index, or without the index, it is 914 pages. So a big mammoth. The writing inside is not too bad. The font is not that bad. So this is about how England and Germany raced one another to build boats and a navy, a military navy, and probably the army too. And basically it's the race to arms prior to World War I. So apparently Robert K. Massey is a wonderful writer, and I've heard him praised by so many people who read his biography of Catherine the Great, and some people who read Dreadnought too. So this one I'm not feeling as much. I felt it, I don't know, 2 weeks ago I would have thought this was a strong contender, but I don't think it is right now. So all of this to say, I have no idea which mammoth I will pick. One of these, I don't know which one. I will see when it's time for me to pick up a book. In the early days of March, I will just pick one of them and stick with it for the month of March. Now, the third readathon I want to participate in is brand new. It is Herstoryathon, and it is created for the first time this year by Brittany from Literarily Smitten and Charlotte from Coiny Read. And it is in honor of Women's History Month, which is the month of March, with March 8th being the International Day of Women. And it is a very simple readathon. They have 9 prompts if you're really into it, but if you're not that much into it, you simply have to read either non-fiction or fiction about a woman who truly existed. So if you're reading a historical novel, it has to be about a woman who existed in real life. So for this, I have 2 possibilities. One of them is strongly recommended by Brittany from Literarily Smitten. It is The Tigress of Forli by Elizabeth Lev. It is a biography of Caterina Sforza di Riario di Medici. It's not easy to get her names in the right order. She was married when she was very young to a nephew of the Pope, and then she had problems, let's just say that, with the Pope and then with the Borgias, and she ended up marrying a Medici. So she had a very interesting life in the 14 and 1500s. No, just 1400s, I think. I don't remember when she died. So let's say 15th century, mainly 15th century. So that is a very strong possibility for me for Herstoryathon. And another one is a book that I just bought. I think a bit because of Herstoryathon. It is a historical fiction about the widow of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Now this one is not translated in English, so it's not going to be much help for you, but for me it's interesting. So it's a historical novel set in end of 18th, early 19th century Austria, I guess. So these are the three main readathons I want to participate in. But of course, they are not the only readathons in March. There is also a middle grade March. I'm not much into middle grade books. But if I will participate in that, the book I will read will be on Scribd, and it will be a book by Robert Graves where he is telling the Trojan War to a younger audience. Now, I've been completely and totally fascinated by Robert Graves' translation of the Iliad. I just loved that book. It was my favorite book last year. So I think it would be a nice way to sort of continue into this line of literature, I guess, to learn more about the Trojan War and to do that with Robert Graves, who was a great poet and a classicist and all of that. So that would be the book I would read for middle grade March if I get there. As I said, I will prioritize the first three. I will prioritize the first three and then I will see. And the fifth one that I would like to participate in is the Irish Readathon. I forgot completely who the hosts are. I'm going to leave links in the description box, of course. And for this one, I have just one possibility. In all of my books, as far as I know, I have just one that is set in Ireland. And it is a 1916 by Morgan Llewellyn. I think that Morgan Llewellyn is not even an Irish author. She is an American author. But she writes historical novels about Ireland. And this one is obviously about the 1916 Troubles, the Easter Rising. So this would be the one that I would read. For some reason, I don't think I'm going to get to it. I will probably prefer to read a bunch of mysteries, but I may get to it. I don't know. That's why I'm putting it in this video. And I could also find something else on Scribd. And there's also the Welsh Readathon going on, which is called Readathon, but for that one I don't have anything lined up, so it's extremely unlikely that I will participate in that one. But anyway, that's still 3 readathons that I know I will participate in, well, unless something very bad happens. three readathons that I intend to participate in, I should say that. Plus 2 if I have time, if I feel like it, and if it's possible, because it's a lot of readathons. So that is it for me. That is what I think I will perhaps maybe read in March. Thank you everyone for watching. I will see you in the next video. À la prochaine!